Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 53 units of real estate. So I've been learning about a concept called a rolling recession. And I believe that we've been in a rolling recession for the past 3 years. So what is a rolling recession? A rolling recession is when specific sectors, so it could be like tech, housing, manufacturing, different sectors are experiencing their own little mini recession, but it doesn't crash the overall economy. Because in 2008 when it crashed, I was in high school, but it just seemed like everything crashed at the same time. It happened fast, it hit hard, right? And people lost jobs. But I think with this recession that we've been going in, and I think it kind of started in 2022, like different sectors in different years have been hit with little mini recessions, but it's not so impactful like everything crashed at the same time. So basically in 2022, I think what hit first was the mortgage industry / housing, because what happened in 2022, interest rates skyrocketed. In 2021, you could lock in a less than 3% interest rate, and then if you were towards the end of 2022, early 2023, I think interest rates skyrocketed to like 7%. Because I remember I did a cash out refinance in 2023 to get out of a hard money loan. My hard money loan was 9%. And my refinance was at a 7% conventional. So as you can see, it got hit. So I think, the housing market, the mortgage business got hit in 2022, 23. In 23/24, I think that's when like tech was kind of hit. I'm from the Bay Area. I have a few friends that work in tech, but that's when a lot of companies were hit. That's when a lot of layoffs were happening in tech. And because of those layoffs in tech in the Bay Area, it softened rents a little bit, specifically in San Francisco, San Jose, Cupertino, the kind of more expensive areas. So at that point, now tech kind of got hit, but I would say it kind of rebounded, right? Like today, 2025, obviously I think tech recovered, and people are now back in it, especially with the AI jobs coming, and like Nvidia is hiring massively from what I've heard. And I would say mortgage, that's kind of stayed a little bit stagnant. Interest rates have been kind of flat at 7% over the past, I think even till today. Now, just recently, end of 2025, interest rates are starting to lower so that you're closer to 6. Not too familiar with like manufacturing, to be honest, but if I were to like project out, home builders, when COVID happened, what happened? Interest rates were lower. The cost to get a construction loan was cheaper. I think lumber was skyrocketing during COVID, but interest rates were cheaper, so they can afford to like Lennar, D.R. Horton start building significantly, because they're trying to do a volume game. And now I would assume there's less new construction development starting now, because it's not as favorable unless you're like a big player like D.R. Horton, Lennar. But those smaller home builders are probably a lot less, because the loan to get a construction loan is going to be high. I don't know, I imagine you're at least like 9. And now your pool of buyers is going to be a lot less, because your average homeowner can't afford the house if you're at a 7% interest rate, or even 6%. So I think it's slowing down for like the smaller players, right? The big players like Lennar, D.R. Horton, they have economies of scale. They're in many markets, so they could basically play a volume game, for lack of a better word. But I would say overall, I think manufacturing, by transitory, is affected. And then I think consumer spending, I think that kind of slowed down too. Like I'm not an economist or anything. I'm just a real estate guy. I've been doing it for, investing in real estate specifically for 8 years, but I think consumer spending has dropped. And from what I've kind of seen, just being in Los Angeles, I remember areas downtown LA or Japantown. I remember pre-COVID it was really popping, but if you go nowadays, it's not as crowded as it used to be, because I think maybe people are it's trying to save money. Maybe you don't need to eat out, you can eat at home. Getting a cocktail in downtown LA, it's $25, and you can literally buy a whole handle of alcohol for $25. So it just feels like it's been emptier, in downtown LA, and I lived in Santa Monica for a period. Slowed down. Japantown looks kind of like a ghost town now. So I feel like people are really spending less and being a little more intentional on how they spend. And it's funny, like Las Vegas, I think they had a statistic that I saw where it's dropping in terms of tourism. I think millennials and Gen Zs, they don't gamble as much as the prior generations. I don't think they drink as much. I believe I did see an article saying that millennials drink the most. I think Gen Zs drink the least, or at least go out to drink. You can like I said, you can drink at home yourself, and it's way cheaper, right? You could buy a pack of beers for $20, and if you go out, it's $10 for a beer. If you drink 2, it's $20. You can just get your own beers and then chill at home or chill in your backyard and drink. So I feel like consumer spending is down. So it's kind of interesting seeing these kind of micro sectors that get hit by recessions. But what's weird is it's still kind of K-shaped. So the rich are still getting richer, because depends if you're invested in assets, right? So if let's say tech is doing great but real estate's doing bad, but someone like me, I have S&P 500 stocks, which includes tech. I bought some Nvidia stocks, so that's skyrocketing. I'm making money, but real estate is stagnant or losing. It kind of balance each other out. And vice versa. Maybe in 5 years, tech won't do so great, but if interest rates drop and housing skyrockets again, it kind of balances out, right? So that's why it's interesting. As you build more wealth, you're diversified, and if you have a rolling recession, you're not hit as hard. If everything crashed, yeah, you're hit, but everyone else is hit too. But if you have a rolling recession, it kind of balances itself out, right? Where if one sector is doing bad, let's say tech is doing bad, but housing is doing good, you kind of balance out. Or vice versa, if housing is doing great but tech's doing bad, it balances out. So I kind of see why diversification is needed, especially during the hard times. And for me, I started investing in 2017, and it's only been good times. For the most part, it's only been a good time. 2022, 23, 24, 25, it's kind of been stagnant / uncertain. Healthcare right now is getting hit with a lot of layoffs because of cuts to Medicare, Medi-Cal, and unemployment is ticking up. So it's quite interesting, right? So the people who own assets, they're still okay, but the people who maybe are living paycheck to paycheck, and if they lost their job, if they have one big pitfall, financially, whether it's a medical bill or whatever, it makes it more difficult to pay rent. So that there's probably enough taking eviction. I've seen it in my personal portfolio where I've had more evictions in my 2 apartment complexes. And keep in mind, my rent is only about $700 in Oklahoma City and $500 in Enid. But if they lose their job and you're paycheck to paycheck, you can't pay. It's hard to pay. And then I have other tenants where, one had to apply for emergency rental assistance. I had one tenant who, owes me about a month of rent, and I'm working on a payment plan with them and being patient because, they've been with me for a long time, and, they've always paid on time, but was hit with won't tell me specifics, but I kind of assume a job loss in combination with a medical issue. So a lot of times this derails people. So those people are struggling, but the ones that have assets are doing better. So it's kind of that K-shaped curve. So that's why it's not as bad as it's been, because if you took advantage of COVID times and low interest rates, you could have acquired a lot of assets, a lot of stocks, and these stocks have skyrocketed. Look at Nvidia. I believe Nvidia has skyrocketed over the past 5 years. Real estate has skyrocketed over the past 5 years. Just the stock market in general has skyrocketed in the past 5 years. So that's kind of really it. Is kind of what I observed and seen over the past 3 years. So, been grateful that, had a job for the past 3 years and get that consistent paycheck every two weeks. And on top of that, still building other side revenues as another safety net and as a way for me to potentially step away from, W-2 income and move into my own business owner income. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking. Like it just kind of connected the dots to me once I kind of researched what a rolling recession was. So anyways, once again, not economist. You can search yourself what a rolling recession is, but that's kind of my interpretation and how I kind of piece the puzzle in my mind. So let me know what questions you have. If you want coaching, you want to join my school community on a free trial, you want mentorship, you want to join my free newsletter, send me an email, click on my link tree down below. I highly suggest if you own real estate, you get your landlord insurance quote from Steadily. It takes 3 minutes, and it'll tell you if you can save some money or not. It's free. And please like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.